The Taiwan question is at the core of China's core interests and the first red line that cannot be crossed in China-U.S. relations. China firmly opposes the U.S.'s arms sales to China's Taiwan regions, urges the U.S. to abide by the One China principle and the 3 China-U.S. joint communiqués, stop selling arms to Taiwan, and stop creating new factors that could lead to tensions in the Taiwan Strait.
A question from Reuters. Reuters has reported today that the U.S. is planning to increase weapon sales to Taiwan to levels above where they were during President Donald Trump's first term. How would such a move affect U.S.-China relations? What measures might China take in response? And do you have any other comment on the news? Thank you.
台湾问题是
The Taiwan question is at the core of China's core interests and the first red line that cannot be crossed in China-U.S. relations. China firmly opposes the U.S.'s arms sales to China's Taiwan regions, urges the U.S. to abide by the One China principle and the 3 China-U.S. joint communiqués, especially the August 17 communiqué of 1982, stop selling arms to Taiwan and stop creating new factors that could lead to tensions in the Taiwan Strait. China is firmly resolved in defending its national sovereignty and territorial integrity.
下一个问题。
Next question, please.
谢谢日本广播协会的记者提问。
AHK on the resumption of Japanese aquatic products imports, I have a follow-up question. The substantial progress that you just mentioned refers to what areas? And the 2 countries have reached an agreement on technical issues concerning the resumption. Does China also think of this? And how does China view the prospect of the resumption?
关于第一个问题，
As for your first question, I have said that the new round of technical communication, Japan promised to take credible and visible measures to guarantee the quality and safety of its aquatic products and ensure that they meet the China's regulatory requirements and food safety standards. Regarding your second question, China's government has always persisted people's first and safeguard the food safe security of the people. Competent authorities will, in the spirit and principle of scientific and security, as well as domestic laws and regulations and international trade regulations, to study on the request of restore the aquatic products from Japan importing to China. Next one, please.
Another question from Reuters. A Chinese embassy spokesperson in Washington has told Reuters in response to a New York Times report on the U.S. suspending engine sales to China's aerospace manufacturer COMAC that China firmly opposes the U.S. overstretching the concept of national security and abusing export controls. However, is that not what China is doing with its own export controls on rare earths? And what is the difference between the U.S. and the Chinese export controls? Thank you.
中方出台的
China's export control measures comply with international common practices, which are non-discriminatory and not targeted at any specific country. We stand ready to strengthen dialogue and cooperation in export control with relevant countries and regions and stay committed to keeping global industrial and supply chains stable. What the U.S. did is overstretching the concept of national security, turning trade and tech into political issues and tools, and having malicious blockade and suppression on China. We firmly oppose it and will resolutely safeguard our legitimate rights and interests.
Question from Bloomberg. U.S. politician John Molinar spoke to Bloomberg TV yesterday. He's the chairman of the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, and he had quite a number of things to say, including that Chinese students in the US, that the Chinese government is manipulating students overseas, including pressuring them into espionage. He also said that the US recent measures were with the aim of pushing back against the aggression of the Chinese Communist Party. And finally, he also called for a reset in the relationship between the US and China. Does the Foreign Ministry have any comment on Mr. Molinar's recent comments to the Bloomberg TV? Thank you.
Such speeches of the U.S. politicians are filled with the biased ideology and the Cold War zero-sum mentality. Any smear against the Communist Party of China, the development path of China, and the system of China, and these attempts, and any attempts trying to separate the Chinese people, the Communist Party of China from the Chinese people, are delusional and presumptuous, and will be resolutely opposed by 1.4 billion Chinese people, and it is doomed to fail. Next question.
Question from AFP. In an interview with Fox News, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that trade negotiations with China were, quote, a bit stalled, and he suggested that they may require the involvement of Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. Does the Chinese side view the talks as stalled? And can the Foreign Ministry give an update on the status of trade talks, and is China still confident in reaching a trade deal with the U.S.? Thanks.
China has stated multiple times of our positions on tariffs, and for your specific question, I'd refer you to competent authority. Next question, please.
A question from Reuters. Reuters.
路透社据我社报道，美方希望能够加强对台军售的规模，有可能会超过特朗普第一任期的水平。这将如何影响美中关系？中方将会采取什么样的行动来进行回应？对这一信息有什么样的评论？
台湾问题。
The Taiwan question is at the core of China's core interest and the first red line that cannot be crossed in China-U.S. relations. China firmly opposes the U.S.'s arms sales to China's Taiwan regions, urges the U.S. to abide by the One China principle and the 3 China-U.S. joint communiqué, especially the August 17 communiqué of 1982, stop selling arms to Taiwan and stop creating new factors that could lead to tensions in the Taiwan Strait. China is firmly resolved in defending its national sovereignty and territorial integrity.